Welcome. So if any of you have been around the Turquoise Museum for about 3 seconds, you know that we are a family business, and that means that we are a family that happens to be in business, not a business that happens to be related. So we started the museum officially in 1993, and I am 5th generation in the family, and the only reason why I can stand up here is because of all of the people who stood before me. And so before we get into where we're going, I want to talk a little bit about where we've been. So the Turquoise Museum, like I said, is founded on the shoulders of all of the family that has come before me, and there are several generations that are not here. They are here in spirit, they're here in memories, but they have gone on before us. But there are people in the room that deserve to be recognized. So first off, I would like to start with the matriarch of our family, Miss Katie Lowry. And then in the fourth generation of the family, curated the museum since we started, my dad, Joe Dan. And the one who keeps us grounded and functioning as a business, she's the one that none of us do anything unless she says okay. And that would be my mom, Devonna, in the back. And then the one that does all of the work while Dad and I talk and call it work, my sister Danielle keeps us. And then, like I said, we are a family that just happens to be in business. So on a personal note, my personal rock, my wife Brittany is in the back. And she brought the little ones, my 2-year-old Bennett and the 2-month-old Sterling. So the Turquoise Museum was founded with one purpose: to showcase the world's most colorful gem. That is a big statement when you get into the details of what that actually means. What does it mean for a gem to be colorful? Well, color is the reflection of light off of the crystals in the stone. That's one definition of color. But then we can get into so many other aspects of turquoise color. One of the statements that we have said for many years is the only thing more colorful than the turquoise you're buying is the character of the person you're buying it from. There is a lot more color in turquoise than just the turquoise. So there are the people who have been involved in turquoise, the miners who brought it from the earth, the artists, the traders, the families and the cultures. There is a lot of color in turquoise. So our job is to display and showcase the entire story of turquoise, not just the stone. In the colors, the countries, the cultures, the languages, the people, and so much more, there is so much color to turquoise. When you get into the colors of turquoise specifically, you can say turquoise is a blue and green gemstone. And that is true and very, very lacking. Turquoise, you could say that Manasseh turquoise is green. True, very lacking. Sleeping Beauty turquoise is blue. True, but very lacking. There are so many colors and so many varieties in each and every single mine and each and every single region. Then we get into the countries that have produced turquoise. Each of those countries has their own color, their own varieties, their own histories, and each of those histories deserves to have its own space, its full history being told. If we're going to go through the history of turquoise, there are thousands of years to cover. Then we have all of the cultures, not just the regions around the world, but the cultures. Here at home, the Native American craft. Then if we travel, the Tibetan craft, the Chinese manufacturing culture, the American tourism culture. All of these cultures are important to the story of turquoise, and all of them deserve to be included and involved in the museum. And then we get into the languages. How many languages do you speak? How many do you read? How many different ways can you communicate the word turquoise, or turquoise, or turquesa? Which way do you say it? Which way does the person sitting next to you say it? Every single language, every single variety should be communicated. And then we get into the people. There are so many people in turquoise. All of them have had incredible histories. They have impacted our world, our industry. They have impacted the stone, some of them rather aggressively when they're mining. There have been impact from each and every one of them, and all of their stories deserve to be told. So for 33 years, the Turquoise Museum has carefully curated the story of turquoise. However, we have been somewhat limited. We only speak English. The museum displays are only in English. Then we have only so much space to display. Each location that we've moved to, we've increased the space, we've increased the display room, we've increased the way that the displays are done. All of that for 33 years we've been developing in the museum. And for 33 years we've noticed that every 10 to 15 years we get a different generation of people coming through. When we started the museum, we were getting many members of the silent generation and the baby boomers. They learn differently than I do. Then as they started to fade away, the next generations that came in were Gen X. So lately we've gotten more baby boomers and started getting Gen X. And then most recently, our most visited population are the Gen Xers and a sprinkling of millennials. Every generation, because of their influences, because of the way that their brains work, because of the world they live in, learns differently. Because of that, each location has been remodeled on a regular basis. When we get a new generation of people through the museum, we have completely remodeled the space to be able to meet the needs of the generation that is currently visiting the museum. Like I said, each generation learns a little bit differently. The silent generation and the baby boomers like to just drop in on traditional hours because they were just driving through town. If anybody knows Mark Edwards, he likes to just drive through town and see what he wants to stop and do. Then you get into Gen X and you get a little bit more organized. You have the people who don't just get out on the road and drive. You have people that are specifically looking for what to do, when to do it, and they plan their events in order. And then you have the millennials. They want their world built around them. They don't want to come learn your story. They want to find out how your story applies to their world, to their life. And each generation needs to be reached in a different way. Also, in each generation, there have been differences to technology. I have this conversation with certain members of my family of the gray-haired persuasion. That technology, if you get into it, the wheel was at one point technology. Technology doesn't just involve wires. But if we go through some technological advances throughout history, there's a point where they take over the world in what was happening, and this is the new reality. So the horse was the way you navigated the world, and then the automobile came into play. And within 15 to 20 years, the assumption was if you were traveling, you were taking a car. The breeding of horses became for enjoyment and for racing. It was no longer an industry of transportation. If we go into entertainment, the television was invented, and all of the radios that everybody would gather around and watch. One of these days I'm going to have to figure out why people would watch a radio. But when everybody would gather around the living room and watch the radio, when the TV was invented, TVs became the de facto entertainment within 7 to 10 years. If we go into communication, the cell phone and the landline. The cell phone, when it was first introduced commercially, it took about 30 years before all of us have a tiny little computer in our pocket. And then we get into the internet. The World Wide Web was introduced in 1991. And today, our taxes are filed on the internet, our medical records are kept on the internet, and every part of our lives is permeated by the internet. These things don't take hundreds of years. They take less than a generation to take hold. Our job in Turquoise and in museums is to meet people where they learn. We are supposed to engage people where they are and bring them into the world of Turquoise. So the Turquoise Museum is going to be moving into a space to meet people where they learn.
This is the Turquoise Museum's new location, and it exists entirely in virtual reality. Put on a headset, walk through these doors, and enter a fully explorable, virtual museum environment. Created as its own world, with the ability to take you anywhere in the world, from everywhere on Earth. Meeting the next generation where they learn. Inside, you decide where the experience takes you. Walk the galleries, approach the artifacts, and discover the story of Turquoise from perspectives never before possible. Move naturally from one extraordinary environment to the next. See the collection surrounded by the places, people, and ideas that give it meaning, turning every gallery into a world of its own. Journey from the science that creates turquoise through thousands of years of human history and into the cultures that made it legendary. Here, the collection is no longer limited by walls, language, or geography. The museum can grow larger, reach farther, and bring visitors closer than ever before. The Turquoise Museum you know and love is now entering an entirely new dimension. Have a turquoise question? Want to see the full range of colors and matrix found at a specific mine? Looking for your next collectible piece of turquoise? There's an app for that. Introducing the Turquoise app, your access point for turquoise education and entertainment. Ask Miner Zach and receive answers drawn from verified turquoise research and museum publications. Explore the growing library of mines. Compare turquoise from sources around the world and discover their colors, matrix, history, geology, photographs, and stories. Manage and organize your personal collection with the collection tool, keeping track of every important detail. The knowledge of the Turquoise Museum is no longer confined to the museum. Now, it fits in your pocket. And when knowledge inspires you to begin or expand your own collection, the experience continues with Turquoise Source, introducing the Turquoise Museum's new marketplace for collectible turquoise, books, apparel, and more. Discover books written by Joe Dan Lowry and Joe P. Lowry, including signed numbered copies of the out-of-print reference, Turquoise, the world story of a fascinating gemstone. Explore turquoise apparel, museum merchandise, memorabilia, and products created for people who want to carry their connection to turquoise beyond the museum. And discover 3 new turquoise collections, each created for a different kind of collector. At the top is Legacy Reserve, rare, museum-level turquoise, selected for its provenance, rarity, beauty, and importance. These stones are certified, graded, and packaged for display. For collectors seeking access to Legacy Reserve releases, Vault Access opens a private marketplace with advance access to stones before they are released publicly. Heritage Signature Collection presents premium, precision-cut turquoise chosen for its beauty, balance, quality, and collectability. And the Select Collection helps make turquoise accessible to everyday collectors, whether they are building their first collection or simply discovering a stone that speaks to them. From important books and wearable turquoise culture, to accessible stones, premium collections, and the rarest pieces held inside the vault, Turquoise Source creates one destination for discovering, understanding, and collecting turquoise. The museum gave you the knowledge. Now, Turquoise Source gives you the opportunity to build a collection of your own. The museum's new location is not a pin on a map. It is a virtual turquoise platform made up of 3 specially designed environments. A place to step inside the story, a place to carry its knowledge with you, and a place to build a collection of your own. The virtual Turquoise Museum, the Turquoise app, and Turquoise Source come together as one connected experience, built to preserve everything the museum has learned, extend everything it can share, and meet the needs of tomorrow's learner. The Turquoise app is complete and available to download today from the Apple App Store and Google Play, with new minds, research, and resources continuing to be added. Turquoise Source is live today, giving collectors immediate access to the museum's new marketplace. And in 2028, the virtual Turquoise Museum will launch worldwide, giving visitors everywhere the opportunity to explore it for themselves. The Turquoise Museum you know and love is not simply moving to another address. Our next location is not one place. It is everywhere the story of turquoise can reach. Welcome to the next dimension of the Turquoise Museum.
All right, let's walk through what that means. We have 3 connected experiences to have one ever-expanding museum. The museum has 3 ways inside. You can enter through the VR, you can carry it in your pocket, and you can explore and discover new information and new stones through Turquoise Source. So let's go through the Explore. One of the things that we have had for so many years is that the museum has always been in prefabricated buildings. We've moved into a space that was built for some other purpose, and we adapted to the walls around us. With the virtual museum, we are not only creating walls, we are creating the space specifically for turquoise, designed around this incredible stone. This is not just a website, it is actually a world. When I say it's a world, when you look at the display, you will see that the museum is, one, only viewable under a night sky. When was the last time you went to visit a museum at night? You can travel the world in the museum displays and in the galleries. One of the really cool things is this is not a building. It does not have square footage limitations, meaning we could build effectively a 50 million square foot museum and it still live in your house with you. So this is an incredible world designed around turquoise. You can walk through the galleries, you can get close up to the artifacts, you can actually handle the artifacts. One of the fascinating things is when you're in a museum, traditional museum, everything is behind glass. When was the last time you got to walk up to a multi-million-dollar piece, pick it up, and turn it around and examine every side of it. You get to see the side that they show you. You don't get to look through every aspect of the piece. We can also, one of the really cool things on the VR is if this room, in theory, was part of the virtual reality museum, you could be in this room learning about the Valley Blue turquoise mine. And then you can walk through that door and be transported to the Valley Blue turquoise mine. You can tour the mine, you can learn about the mine. Using Google Earth, we can actually get the topography of the mine correct. And using 360 cameras, we can get the detail on the ground correct. And for the miners that don't want anybody to know where their claims are, we don't show them where it is, we just take you straight there. So you can go anywhere you want to in the VR. You can also interact with the world. So if you're in a museum today, even if it is in multiple languages, it's not in every language, it's in 1 or 2 or 3 languages. And the people that are walking through, if they speak a different language than you, then you are going to be playing gestures to find out how they like the display you're looking at. However, the VR goggles that are out today have microphones inside of them along with the headsets, and when you talk, it will actually translate what you said into another language so you can interact with and talk to somebody around the world, all while you're standing in the same virtual gallery. When you're looking at the same sign on the wall, standing next to each other, if they selected the option that they wanted all of their signage in Farsi, then that means that they're going to be reading a sign in Farsi, while you might be reading it in English, or Spanish, or Japanese. And everybody can have their own unique way of viewing the museum while being collaboratively available in the same space. Every gallery can reveal another layer. So if you've been to the museum and seen the serendipitous stone, how many of you have seen the serendipitous stone? And how many of you have been to the museum? Anybody notice there were a lot more hands the second time? It's because the serendipitous stone is a stone about the size of my fist, and it's in a corner. It's a really cool rock, but most people miss it because there's so much other stuff in that space. The serendipitous stone is a stone that the Zuni rain priests will use every summer in their rain ceremonies, and then they bring it back to the museum and put it back on display. When you listen to Cybert, the rain priest, actually tell the story about the stone, you get a totally different view of how it functions and what it is. The way that you can do that in the VR is we have actually created a Hogan that you are sitting in with a fire pit in the middle. There's a setup like the monuments that they will build for their ceremonies, with the serendipitous stone sitting in the middle, and over the fire, you can listen to Cybert tell you the story of his ancestors. That is a totally different experience than looking at a rock in a showcase. When we do the items into the virtual, what that is entailing is it is entailing hundreds of photographs. What we are doing, we're using multiple different technologies. One of them is focus stacking, which is the way that they take photos of insects. So they take a really tiny piece, put a really high-powered camera lens on it, and they take a picture. And then they change the focus by one little dial. And then they take another picture, and then change the focus, and take another picture. And then you stack all of the focused photos together, and you get an entirely focused image. So we're doing that. It's taking about 100 images to get one focused picture of especially one of the rough stones. It takes about 100 pictures to get one focused angle. And then you need every single angle of the stone. So you need 360 this way, 360 that way, and at least one more axis to be able to actually see the whole stone. Then we put it into photogrammetry software, where it actually runs the calculation using those images to put all of those images on top of each other and create a 360-degree 3D model of the stone that we're dealing with. So this is a setup of kind of how that works. You can see all of the pictures on one side and then the stone on the other. And it is detailed that we can make the stone softer or we can make it really rugged and bumpy. So we have to actually make it look correct instead of just letting the software do whatever it wants. There's a little bit of an art form to it. But you can get closer than you can in a display case. You can even get closer than you can in real life. The pictures that we're doing, the stones that we're doing, we can take a stone that is a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch, and when you walk into a room, it could be displayed the size of this stage. Meaning you can see the detailed, microscopic detail in every nook and cranny of that rock. In a digital space, there is always room for one more story. One of the things that we've had to do with the physical spaces is we have unfortunately had to clean through the stories and decide which ones are the best for telling the story of Turquoise. But with an unlimited display space, we can tell everybody's stories. Then with the Turquoise app, you can take the museum with you. One of the coolest things in the app is that it is currently in 8 languages. When you download the app, you can choose whether you want it in English, Chinese, Japanese, Hindi, Spanish, French, Arabic, and Farsi. You can choose which language you want to best communicate to you. When you talk to Miner Zach will actually respond to you in whichever language you talk to him in. So he is in more languages than the app is in. If you speak to him in a language that the app is not in, he will be able to interpret it and speak back to you in that language. With the app, we are adding more stuff every day, but there are new ways to explore. You can see mines and stones, you can grade. Miner Zach is there, and you can do your collection. The mines, we have a library of mines. Currently, it has the top 25 ranked mines in the world. We are adding to it, but that's as much as I got done before today. Right now there are about 20-ish stones in each mine. Some have like 16, 17, some of them have 23 to 25, but somewhere around 20. And you can see the color range from each of the mines using verified sources of turquoise, not just what you can search on the internet. The same is true of Miner Zach. Miner Zach, the only access he has to information is the Turquoise Museum's verified resources. So right now he is trained on the information in the museum, the actual signage that we currently have, as well as the books that we have published. We are going to be adding more information soon. We are working on dealing with the copyright issues of figuring out how to use people's information without replicating the information. So that's one of the things that we're working on. And then one of the cooler ones is the collection aspect. So one of the things that all of us know in turquoise is we have more pieces than we can wear. We have more pieces than we can put in our pocket. So if you want to keep track of your collection, this kind of works almost like a personal Instagram, where you can keep track of, you can put pictures in and information about your pieces, and then be able to scroll through your full collection on your phone. The grading tool, over the next couple of days, we will be talking about the turquoise standard and how that works. There is a grading tool on the app. So when you have a stone and you want to know what grade it is, you can get an estimated grade using the app. You can see pictures of the master stones and be able to compare yours to it and then be able to estimate the grade. You can also submit a stone for official grading through that app and read more about the grading system on the app. So there's several different aspects on grading also. With the app, knowledge appears when it matters. So if you are sitting at a show and somebody asks you a question you don't know the answer to, you can ask Miner Zach, and he will be able to give you general information on whatever subject you were interested in. With Miner Zach, if anybody knows coding, Miner Zach is currently, in order to get him all of the rules and how he functions and give him his personality, he is currently 1,800 lines of code. And I have told people for a couple of years now that when we're moving, the hint that I will give them of where we're moving is that I have to learn 2 new languages. I just did not tell them that it was HTML and C++. Then we get into bringing a piece home with you. Turquoise Source is going to become the new marketplace. We have talked for several years with different people about that turquoise is not accessible in the same way that Amazon is accessible. So Turquoise Source is set up to become a marketplace for turquoise. We're starting with 3 brands. These brands are based out of our collections. So with Legacy Reserve, if you know the industry, you know that there's gossip everywhere that all of the best stuff is in somebody's basement and has been since the 70s. Guess what? We've been in all of their basements and we've picked through their best stuff. So Legacy Reserve, we bought their legacy and they stopped reserving it, so we're selling it to you. In Legacy Reserve, this is a premier brand. If you think of it like a Rolex or even a Rolls Royce, it is a premier brand. We are going to be releasing 20 stones per year. They are of the grade and level that you don't see on the market, and there will only be a limited selection each year. Because of the limited selection, we also know that there are people in this industry that want to see the back room. And because there's only so many stones that we're releasing, we will have a program called Vault Access, where you can pay to get early access to the releases of the Legacy Reserve. We're going to be releasing a 10-stone collection twice a year. You can see it 3 months before it goes public, and you'll have a chance to purchase 48 hours before it goes public. We're also going to be doing release parties. So instead of just doing a virtual collection and pushing it out online, whether it be during Turquoise United or during the Tucson show or the Hong Kong show or the Las Vegas show, we will have a special party for the Legacy Vault Access members that they can come and see the stones before they go into the show publicly. Heritage Signature is that next level down. Heritage Signature is what I like to say, it's what most people think high-grade turquoise looks like. Legacy Reserve is the stuff that people look at and say, I didn't even know that existed. The Heritage Signature is for that upper middle tier of turquoise. It's high quality turquoise that was specifically collected for the collector who is interested in specific high-end collectible turquoise. And then we have the Select Collection. This is our entry-level collection. This is our clearinghouse. We have gone through and separated through our back stocks, our reserves, everybody else's reserves, and we have gone through to specifically separate everything out. The Select Collection is going to be the lowest end, the most affordable collection, while still having nice quality turquoise. So with the virtual museum, the Turquoise app, and Turquoise Source, the Turquoise Museum now reaches beyond a single place. We have always been tied to Albuquerque. If you want to go to the Turquoise Museum, you have to board a plane if you don't live in Albuquerque. This brings everything to you. This is everywhere all at once. Each experience strengthens the other. The museum, the VR museum, will function as the encyclopedic knowledge of the museum. If you want to learn everything about turquoise, that will be in the museum. The amount of people that are interested in learning everything about turquoise are few and far between. But it will be there as an experience for anybody who wants to delve deep into the subject of turquoise. The app will be the day-to-day learning for turquoise. That will be where you can get your immediate questions answered, see what you're looking for, and get the knowledge quickly, as opposed to going through a full museum to find all of the individual details. And then, once you become inspired on that, you can then add to your collection. So, right now, the Turquoise app is available on your Google Play and Apple Store. And I am very curious, how many of you have downloaded it while I've been talking? So it is currently available on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. The Turquoise Source is also available now. You can go to turquoisesource.com. You can also go to legacyreservevault.com. Legacy Reserve has its own website, and then in 2028 we will unveil the virtual museum. So all of those categories are available in those aspects. For media, we are going to be doing demos of the VR immediately following the press conference. If you are not media, so most everybody else, there is a booth in the show for the museum, and you can view the demo over the weekend. So we have a headset set up, and you are welcome to tour at your leisure and check out the demo version. We have 6 galleries built out there's not as many pieces as I would like, but there are pieces in there that you can see the concept of what we're going to be doing. So any media, stay after and we can get you a demo of it, and then everybody else, you're welcome to do that over the weekend. Also, Turquoise Source has a booth in the gym show, so if you want to see the first 9 stones of the Legacy Reserve collection for 2026, you can see that in the Turquoise Source booth in the gym show, and like I said, you can download the app now. So the Turquoise Museum has never been confined to a single space. We've never been confined to a single mission, a single vision, or a single generation. We have always been looking to the future, looking to build, and looking to engage. And this is the Turquoise Museum's new dimension. Thank you.